So again, I appreciate coming down, appreciate the invitation. It's a real unique situation you guys got going, that you actually have somebody trying to organize you. Trying to organize chiropractors is trying to like get cats together. I personally had 9 offices in Louisville, Kentucky. It was much easier for me because they came through and trained through me from day one. Well, that's a whole different story than trying to get people out there who are already practicing, doing everything their own way, and then try to get them to do unison. Very difficult to do, very difficult. So the good news and bad news about what you're doing is if you stick together in uniformity, you're going to have unbelievable strength and power. Now that uniformity means with documentation too, with the majors. Now we're going to know the difference between majors and minors before we walk out of here today. But when it comes to the majors, you have to be uniform with the majors. You can tinker with the minors. When it comes down to the majors, that's what the cases are about, period. Doesn't matter what state you're in and where you're at. So if you stick with the majors with uniformity, you guys will be really looking good. And that comes from a personal standpoint. Again, I had 9 offices in Louisville, Kentucky, and this is what it sounded like. Ring, ring. This is Dr. Paul's office. We have 9 offices in Louisville. This is to the large attorney offices. So you can go after the big guys, and I'll go into the differences with attorneys. When you got multiple offices, that's when you can go after the big guys. You don't have multiple offices, you're a little player, you're nothing. And I'll go into the details of why and why not. But this is what it sounded like when they got a call from my staff. Ring, ring, this is Dr. Paul's office. We have 9 offices here in Louisville, Kentucky. We see over 30,000 new patients a year. We'd like to introduce our doctors to your attorneys. That's what the phone call sounded like from me. The next question out of their mouth was, you tell me when. Okay, that's the power of numbers. So again, I'm Dr. Paul. You can see here, chiropractor. I did practice for 7 years. The quick story is I got out of Logan College in 1987. Did not know a thing about what I was doing. Fell flat on my face. Went to work with somebody who didn't know anything. I didn't know how to get new patients. I didn't know how to keep them. I didn't know how to talk to them. I didn't know jack. Fell right on my face. It didn't work out. And then I had one of the best things happen to me in my life. That actually turned out to be one of the best things that happened to me in my life. I would say one of the worst things you can do is not be very good, but make just enough money to get by. You won't do it. Typically that doctor will just kind of hang on to what he's doing and kind of stay that way the rest of his practice, the rest of his career. So I went to work for somebody. Fortunately, he knew business. He was a chiropractor, but he knew business. And so he taught me the basics of business, where I had to learn them, which was fantastic. And so when I left his office and started my practice, I took my practice from 0 to 100 patient visits a week in 6 weeks. In 6 weeks, went into profit in my first month in practice. My first year in practice, I profited $232,000. That was back in 1990. My overhead was 16%. That was from failing a year and a half prior to that. That was the difference knowledge meant. It was night and day. It was unbelievable. Well, I took off from there, and that's when I realized how important business was to chiropractic. That had nothing to do with chiropractic, but the business part. So I put a lot of attention into studying business. So another thing that happened to me that was so fortunate is I started going to Fortune 500 seminars. I went to one Fortune 500 seminar on sales and marketing. And they ask everybody in the room, what you do. And there's a guy from IBM sales and a guy from this sales, all the corporate world. And little Paulie holds up in his hand and says, I'm a chiropractor. And the guy looks at me and goes, what are you doing here? It was all human. It was based on human. Sales is based on a human emotion. And I took that class and I'm like, my God, this is exactly how the real world works. It's not what the chiropractors are saying. I totally stopped listening to chiropractors, the chiropractic industry, went to Fortune 500 companies, and that's where I learned business, marketing, and sales. And then I come back and I brought it into the profession. And then I took my practice and exploded it. Because now I knew how to get the 92% of the patients that were not looking for chiropractors, which is huge. So I took it to my first associate doctor, my second associate doctor. I stopped practicing full-time after 7 years. We'd see about 350 patient visits a week. And then for 2 years, I practiced part-time while I was training, and I started opening offices. So I learned how to hire, train, and manage. So I opened my second office. My idea, what I was going to do, is I was going to open a second office, and then between that office and mine, to me, that's what I was going to do in chiropractic. Then I was going to take that money and move it into franchises. That's how I was going to create, in real estate, that's how I was going to create my wealth. Opened my second office, and it goes to hell. Little did I know anything about how to hire, manage, and train associate doctors. So it's in the red every month. I'm running over there 3 times a week. Well, guess what happens to my practice now? It starts going downhill, and I'm like, whoa, stop the bus. This can't go downhill. So I totally rechanged the model from what I learned. Brought somebody in and trained them. I learned a whole lot about hire, manage, and train associate doctors. Brought in a different type of person, trained them, put them in the office in 30 days, and went from the red to black, and I got the formula. Took off with the formula, opened 77 offices in 20 states in 9 years. I opened 7 offices a month every 6 months. I'm the largest chiropractic provider in the world, do over 600,000 patient visits a year, close to $80 to $100 million a year. It's all on the front right here. So I'm a consultant. I do consult with chiropractors. I teach chiropractors how to do what I did, which was retire at age 33. My net worth went over $1 million when I was 32 years old. Chiropractors hire me to learn how to do what I did. I have 9 wealth strategies that work excellent for chiropractors. Excellent. National speaker. I speak all over the country. Just a few weeks ago, I did a live presentation to all 50 states, live streaming for doctors and attorneys. We definitely try to get the attorney CLE, continuing legal education, but also continuing education for chiropractors. I've authored 10 books now. This is the 10th book I've authored. I've donated over $500,000 to the chiropractic profession. I'm one of the top 10 donors in the profession. And again, the entrepreneur. So I like to pay a lot of attention to the business part. So it says right here, author 10 books, speaker in 3 chiropractic colleges. I have the highest rating at Parker College of Chiropractic as a speaker at 97%. I'm from Logan College. I received the highest award from Logan College called the President's Award. I've never lost a patient case in court. One of the things that we'll see that you have to be able to do, that you cannot rely on the attorney, it's your knowledge that should be telling the attorney how good of a case he does. Most chiropractors don't realize that. They think, well, just hand them my notes and let them do what they want. I'm like, no. They don't know the insides like you do. You're the one that should be telling them what kind of a case they have. That's one of the things you're going to learn is how to determine how valuable of a case you have and then share it with your attorney. Because one of the reasons I never lost a case in court, because I knew when not to go to court. It's kind of a huge clue. But I was just, as an example, I was just hired as an expert witness several months ago. And this was just from an attorney in Chicago that saw my YouTube videos. The free YouTube videos, where I don't even go into great detail on my free stuff. But he loved it. He goes, man, I've never seen any doctor talk like you do. Sounds like you know what you're talking about. He hired me on the spot, so I'm dealing with him right now. But like him, I was telling him, he didn't know what he had. He had a great case and he didn't know it. And he had a chiropractor that was dealing with it. He had nothing. They were offering him nothing. So he asked me my opinion. See, this is what you have to be able to do to the attorney. I said, I got all the details. I said, sounds like you, and this is without knowing any of the information, but I knew I had the history. The guy was hit going 40 miles behind. He was in a stationary car. He was hit from behind going 40 miles an hour. You don't have to tell me what probably is positive and negative in that case. You know what I mean? I'm like, this guy's in all likelihood has one heck of a case. So he sent over the records. He goes, would you evaluate? I go, yeah. He sent it over. Check, 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 check. I went through the whole checklist. of what makes a case good or bad. You're going to have that checklist. You're going to know, is this a good case or a bad case? I came back to him, I said, and then I had to explain it to him. You think he knew that? He didn't know. I said, you have a great case here, and this is why. Boom, 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 boom. Off to the races. Okay. Let's see. Testimony resulted in the largest county verdict in that county. I was in a small rural town. I remember a chiropractor called me one time. She says, I think I'm going to move. There's not enough people where I'm at. I go, what city are you in? She goes, Oakland. I said, what's the population of Oakland? She goes, over 100,000. She didn't think she had enough people in her city. I practiced in a town of 3,000 with 2 other chiropractors. Saw 350 patient visits a week. I do continuing education to doctors and attorneys. So I've been through a little bit. We've been up the hill, down the hill, around the hill. Okay, so here we go. We're going to get a lot of experience and we're going to get going right now, okay?